On
On
August 16th,
of
1996.
okay, Bill Clinton
Yes.
is president. August
Kennedy was assassinated again.
6th.
Still alive. 96, you remember it.
Okay,
Nirvana were
yeah.
big. No one wore pants.
No, Nirvana were big but dead.
Is he dead by then?
Yeah, died in 93. 96, 90, it's a bit later.
All I got to do is think how old I am, and I know how old he was, and it was the same age. And
If you want to sequence this is Wonderwall, Oasis.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
so when Wonderwall was big by Oasis,
There you go.
two men, Darrell Atkins and William Jones, robbed, kidnapped, and then shot and killed Eric Nesbitt, a local airman in the area from a US Air Force base.
Okay.
It's a bit of a pity.
Yeah, it doesn't sound nice.
Not great for Eric. He was dead. Clinical psychologists evaluated Atkins, the first guy, and testified at the trial that Atkins had an IQ of 59.
Yeah, okay. All right. That's a long way down. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like mean IQ, we'll get into this, but it's 100. It's standardized at 100, so average for that's deliberately done that way. So psychologists concluded that Atkins was mildly mentally retarded.
Isn't that severely? Like at 59?
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not high.
Yeah, okay.
The jury found Atkins guilty, and he was sentenced to death.
What? Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Don't like the death penalty at the best of times.
Not a fan.
But it seems to me someone who manifestly can't understand their crimes. Oh, okay, well, we'll come to that. You'll come me to that.
Will I? Does a 5-year-old know if they've done something naughty like murdered a puppy?
Oh, look, that's a horrible thought.
I know. It's a dark time at night. So he was sentenced to death. So Atkins and his attorneys appealed to the US Supreme Court, as you would. So Atkins versus Virginia, which is the state in which he was had been sentenced to death, was a landmark case in the US Supreme Court. So in 2002, what are we talking? 6 years later, the court reversed a previous decision and ruled that executions of mentally retarded criminals are cruel and unusual punishments. So they reversed the decision.
Checking the language there. This is the
mentally retarded is their language.
That's their language. Okay. Not your language.
Oh, no, I'm wrong, but I know when I can use wrong words when they're not mine.
Okay, yours. So the Supreme Court said it. So
literally,
yeah, all right.
Literally.
Just don't look for places where the Supreme Court said naughty words just to bring them up.
Oh, I do. This is the only reason I'm telling you this story.
You go through all the case logs so you can find a naughty word and say, "Look, mummy, they said cunt in the Supreme Court, so I have to say this."
Puby booby. So yeah, they reversed a decision that said basically mentally retarded criminals, giving them executions was cruel and unusual punishment and should be prohibited by the Eighth Amendment. So that existed. They said, no, we changed our minds.
Give me a fresher here. What's the Eighth Amendment? That's
it's the one where you don't execute retarded people.
That's a pretty specific amendment.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Look, I'll get to it later in another episode when I actually look it up.
Okay, cool. Some sort of amendment. I think it's cruel and unusual punishment.
It probably is actually. That's a good call.
That sounds likely.
You're American. You ought to know.
Well, but the thing is, I know that the 13th or the 15th Amendment is slavery. So what we're talking
bringing it in or getting rid of it?
Getting rid of it.
Oh,
getting rid of it. So all I'm saying is this is pre-Civil War era sort of stuff.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just dating it for you.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. That's good because I didn't know. I saw the Eighth Amendment and I thought I should look that up. And I didn't.
You just knew that I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah, I like to keep it interesting, keep it snappy. So the court wrote in their decision, and here I am quoting, so this is very interesting legalese, you'll enjoy it. Clinical definitions of mental retardation require not only sub-average intellectual functioning, but also significant limitations in adaptive skills.
Okay.
Mentally retarded persons frequently know the difference between right and wrong and are competent to stand trial.
Frequently... It is not all of them.
It's more than nonce.
And given that these people have a variety of different capacities, I think generalizing here might be part of the problem. Anyway,
they're a court; they've got to do that. Laws, whatever. Because of their impairments, however, by definition, they have diminished capacities to understand and process information, to communicate, to abstract from mistakes and learn from experience, to engage in logical reasoning, to control impulses, and to understand others' reactions. So right now, you're thinking. So make it wrong. They end with, their deficiencies do not warrant an exemption from criminal sanctions, but diminish their personal culpability. So, we can still fuck you over.
They didn't quite do it, but they still get the punishment. They're not quite as culpable as you might expect.
Anyway, kill a fucker. It's cool, huh?
Thank you, death penalty people.
Yeah. Thank you,
It's
thank you
horrible.
very much. It's ridiculous. But the Supreme Court went on and said, look, it's up to the states to determine the levels and definitions of mental retardation and intellectual disability.
Obviously, you have different types of mental retardation
Depending on
in
what
different
state.
states.
Yeah.
You know,
You from Kansas? Oh, you got all of them. Yeah.
What might be taken normal somewhere is different from somewhere else.
Ohio versus New York.
Queensland versus New South Wales.
They're not in America.
I'm just saying that the same thing would apply in Australia.
Oh, no, we don't have the death penalty. You're terrible at this.
But we have
differences
in mental capabilities.
We do.
And so, what might be taken as as a genius in New South Wales would obviously be still a dummy in Queensland.
Bob Catter, for example.
Exactly.
Genius in Queensland?
I don't know.
Genius in New South Wales.
I was just trying to say that Queenslanders are obviously geniuses. That's all I was trying to get to.
I've always said so. Never been there. So they left it up to the states to decide, and the definitions about who could be executed also vary. So the Supreme Court said basically being intellectually disabled isn't enough to not get killed, or rather not be punished, face criminal sanctions, but the states could decide. In the Atkins case, a jury decided, so this is in, where are we, Virginia, that because he had many contacts with his lawyers and thus was provided with intellectual stimulation, his IQ had reportedly increased and he was now smart enough to be executed.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We're going to sharpen you up, son, and then we're going to freaking kill you.
But you sharpened up by talking to your lawyers.
Yeah.
It's not quite school.
I know. I've reread that sentence about 9.5 million times. I'm like, what?
Because he had lawyers, they rubbed off some smarts on him, so now we can kill him.
Now we can kill him. So he was given an execution date, but then received a stay after it was revealed lawyers for the other guy, his co-defendant, William Jones, had coached William Jones to produce a testimony against Mr. Atkins that did not match the evidence. I think they call that lying.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, but legal talk. So after this revelation,
it's fine. I don't mind.
It's late in the day, late in the year. After this revelation of misconduct, Atkins was resentenced to life imprisonment. So that's cool.
Thank heavens.
Yeah. So the Supreme Court here, the issue, this thing that was highlighted. Remember, this is 2002.
Okay.
Not 1912.
Yeah, recent enough.
2002 highlights several issues regarding society's beliefs around intelligence. Yes, it does. Here, the Supreme Court ruled that intellectual disability does affect decision-making and therefore should affect the nature of the crimes the punishment for the crimes.
Yeah.
But, of course, up to variation. In May 2014, Supreme Court ruled in a case, Hall versus Florida, that IQ scores cannot be used as a final determination of prisoners' eligibility for the death penalty. So IQ scores, they were saying, can't be the final deciding factor.
Sure, but I'm going to need to know what are the other factors there.
Damn right. So the bottom line is, where do we draw the lines of intellectual disability and, in fact, how?
Welcome to the Wholesome Show, the science podcast for intellectual abilities, disabilities, diffabilities, all types of intellectuals and others.
Yes.
And people who sit up the back of the classroom.
Even the front. What the hell? Let's not discriminate. People at the front too. And we'll ask the questions that are dumb and pointless and stuff. So the
Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, him.
And me, Dr. Roderick Griffin. Please don't execute me. I'm stupid. Lamberts.
You're going to tell me it's not a defence.
No, it's not.
The Wholesome Show is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science. For all of your science
criminal
defence
needs.
No, don't come to us for criminal defence. Really don't. Really, if you.
Oh, we won't know much, but we'll give it a go.
Oh, I have always wanted to be like this. Would be the blaze of glory thing to represent myself in court.
And I know, for a client, an idiot for a lawyer, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know that the judge and the other lawyers are like, oh Jesus Christ, but I'm on death row or something. I was going to representing myself.
Definitely
I'm like,
a capital case.
I'm Matthew McConaughey.
You need a 6-pack, not a 3-pack. Then.
Oh, look, I'll work out whilst learning my lawyering. And representing myself, it would be so bad.
I've seen American TV lawyer shows. All you need to do is be able to seduce a jury with your silver tongue.
That's what you do. You smoke a cigar.
Yep.
And you in the courtroom and you eloquate them.
Yeah, and you propose these scenarios, and people go, "My God, how could I not?
Objection.
I suddenly see this person in a different light." Yeah, this person is actually a beautiful human being who murdered his family and ate his mother. Yeah. That's a different show. Oh, or is it? So IQ. As IQ. A key determinant about whether you get murdered by your government's a bit shit.
Sure, absolutely. But IQ is obviously a perfect construct otherwise. So.
Well, I'm gonna let's chat about that.
No, it's perfect.
Let's chat about it.
It's how we should measure everyone. Give them an IQ score at 12 and determine their life.
That's a completely predetermined, or your career, whatever you got to do. I agree. Why wouldn't you? So the original IQ, the term was coined by a German.
A chairman?
German.
A German.
A Deutscher gentleman.
Okay.
A German folk. So it's basically, the IQ came from the word Intelligenz Quotient. That's my partial German, partial whatever the fuck that word is. And this is about 1912. So he's advocating for this idea of a method for scoring people's intelligence.
Okay. Well, it's fair enough.
Yeah. And basically, theoretically, intelligence was, it's an inherent quality of capability or ability in a human being, independent from education,
how smart's your brain?
Age.
How smart's your brain? You can do stuff.
How effective's your engine?
Yes. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Not how well it's been tuned and shaped.
No. Have you got a good engine? Yeah, so that's the theory. That's what they thought they were going to do, or at least try and do. So there was Francis Galton, late 1800s, developed the first sort of general test of intelligence. Late 1800s isn't bad. In the early 1900s, the race was on. There's gold in them thar intelligences. So people were all trying to find.
Are they really racing?
Not really, but a lot of people were having a crack at developing intelligence tests.
Yeah.
In Europe and America in particular.
So sometime around then, a lot of people are saying this is going to be a useful thing to know, that we can measure people on their intelligence.
Well, it sounds seductive, doesn't it? And you got to think of the time. So we're talking early 20th century, and people going, we're pretty smart. We're doing some amazing things. It's amazing.
And everyone's getting into eugenics. So
yeah, I will get to that.
I assumed there would be eugenics in there. I thought it had to be
just a flavour.
Okay.
So lots of people were developing tests, and they were all claiming, or in principle, claiming to offer unbiased ways to measure a person's cognitive abilities.
Sure.
So unbiased, clear, unrelated to context, blah, blah.
Compare two people and know which one's smarter. Fair enough. Yeah. I can understand why you would want to.
We never do that here, although maybe later we will. I hope you're ready. So the first of these tests was developed by, like a substantial one, was developed by French psychologist Alfred Binet.
Yep.
So he was asked by the French government to develop an intelligence test.
So from the start, this was a government inquiry.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
And they have good reason. This is the thing. It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And it's not all hell, to be fair either. So the government asked him to develop an intelligence test to use on children so he could determine which ones may have difficulty at school.
That sounds good. Yeah. And I assume by that point they're saying they have difficulty, therefore we'll give them lots more support.
Concentration camps.
No. I was saying to support to achieve what they want to achieve.
In theory, yeah.
But no.
Well, I didn't dive down that rabbit hole. This is nothing but rabbit holes. Like,
yeah, I get it.
Walking down this path is ankle breakers terror. Like you could trip and fall down infinity rabbit holes. So it also included a lot of verbal tasks, to try and get general intelligence, verbal sort of tasks and verbal abilities.
How many words do you know? Or
yes, get ready, go. Say all the words you know.
What is this yellow fruit? I know lots of words. I know 20 or 30 words.
Okay, you do. I've heard you use at least 9 of them.
Yeah.
Even today. Louis Terman was a Stanford professor, and he modified Binet's work at Stanford. So the way he modified it in particular is he standardized the administration of the test.
It wasn't standardized before?
Well, look, I think there was a little bit of artistic license.
I like the idea of inventing an intelligence test on the fly for each person. Yeah. You look like you need the green intelligence test. There's some questions. I'm going to ask you, what is the capital of Bratislava?
I was going to say Bratislava. I'm not kidding. No, whoa, man.
Bratislava isn't the capital of Bratislava. Bratislava is the capital of...
it was literally the word I was going to say, though.
It's always the capital everyone goes to. What's your favourite capital? Bratislava.
Not Ugu-Dugu?
I think
Ugu-Dugu, I think it's actually pronounced.
Yeah.
So what he did, he standardized administration, and he tested thousands of children of different ages to basically get a baseline and an average score. So this is how they normalized and standardized the test. This is why IQ nowadays, the mean is 100.
Whereas before that,
it could be anything.
It was just you get 50, and 50 might be good, or it's 5 stars, or you're 712. Exactly. What's it out of, Doc? I don't know.
You're a green on the IQ-ometer, which is great. So they normalized and standardized. So that means, and this continues today, the average or the mean IQ is 100 for the population. The majority of people hover around 100. And the standard deviation is 15.
So it was 100 back then. Do we use identical tests from then to now?
A lot of them, they get recalibrated periodically.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Oh, we're getting into that.
Yeah, I assumed.
It's going to be so interesting. So basically, when you look at a bell curve.
I see bell curve. Yeah, it looks like a bell.
For the 3 people watching this on video.
300 million.
300 million people watching on video. There's the image of the thing. So what you're looking at is basically, where are we? Get my paper in order. So
most people are in the knob of the bell.
Yeah, 60 odd.
A few people are in the ends of the
shafts. The bell end is full. The bell end is full.
Look, I am not a bell anatomist.
No,
the bits of the bell, I know there's a clanger, but other than that, on the shape of the bell,
there's a tongue.
There's ends, and there's
a tongue.
The head knob
there's a head knob, a tongue, and ends.
What are the shaft of the bell?
Why not?
I don't know.
Look, I'm not a bellologist, but I'll have a crack. But what you're looking at is, so people, if 100's the mean, so people 130 and above is about 2% of the population. 145, 0.1% of the population.
So flipping it the other way around, same shape. So
yeah, so our mate who had, what was it, 59?
59, okay, which is the equivalent in rarity of 141.
Yes, so he was in the bottom just over 2% of the population.
Okay.
Functionally speaking.
Oh, the bottom 2%, so not the bottom 0.00.
Yeah, so killing. Okay. Definitely executed.
No, I was just going to say, how rare is someone of that level of intelligence? I thought
2%.
Yeah, okay.
Ish.
I have run into 50 people today, and somewhat somewhat
half of one of them definitely.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
So basically speaking, below 70, you'd say there are many ways to describe it. Intellectually disabled below 70. 70 to 85, you're a bit below average. 85 to 115, if you're for those statisticians out there, that's one standard deviation above or below the mean. So that's basically average.
It's most people.
Yeah.
So how many people fit into that? 85 to
like 70% of people or something, if not more. Around 70%. So once you get to 115, 129, you're going up.
Just to go onto the concept of bell curves. It's always fascinated me when you look at a crowd of people. We all fit within a pretty narrow margin of height difference. You look across and there's occasionally rarely a tall person or rarely a short. Most people were within that height. But then you look at trees and like trees vary enormously.
Trees aren't people though.
I know, that's the point. It's so weird.
They don't have height. It's something different.
Like they just do whatever they want.
Well, like dogs.
Like I'm a 20
Imagine
meter
if
tree.
human beings varied in size and shape the way dogs do.
I think it'd be nice.
It'd be hilarious. I just don't want to be the chihuahua.
Or hair, really long Afghan hair all over your body or something like that.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
That'd be awesome.
Horrible.
No, it'd be awesome.
You get poo on yourself.
Obviously, except your date. Except your date.
Yeah, you got to keep that shaved. Keep it tidy in the trousers. That's what they always say. If you're
look, I'm sure that an Afghan does have problems that way.
We mean Afghan dog for all our Afghani listeners.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
See, I'm the woke one. Everyone says it's you. It's me.
Stop it. All right. No, it's nice. Welcome. It's good of you.
It'll wear off. Actually, it's already gone. So, basically, if you want to get really crazy, so from 130, 159, you're talking sort of moderately to highly gifted.
Just letting you know, I'm not going to steal your delicious Italian.
Are you going to go red nut?
Well, you brought 3 of those beers over.
They come in 3s.
So I'm not going to steal it. I'll open one for you, and then.
Okay, I will definitely accept your generosity of my greed for this beer.
Watch me inadequately open a beer.
I'm drinking. It's called Moretti beer, which people know in Australia, but it's Moretti La Rossa, my apologies, and it is frickin' delicious. And try and find it in Australia. Good luck with that. So anyway, at 130 to 159, you're talking moderately to highly gifted. 160 to 179, exceptionally gifted.
Okay, so
you're really getting up there.
But 159, moderately to highly gifted.
So 159 would be highly gifted. 130, they'd call you moderately gifted.
No. I thought if you're getting up to 159, you were, you're at the Albert Einstein sort of very rare.
It is rare.
Or you've got an Erdos number of 0 because you're Paul Erdos.
Because you are Erdos, yeah. If you don't know what that is, listen to our episode.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to flag. Man.
What, about 5, 6, 8 weeks ago? I don't know.
You don't know. It was actually probably back in March or something.
Was it really?
Who knows what time is anymore? Who knows what time is anymore?
I don't know if it exists. My favourite is 180 and above, and I've defined that as welcome to Earth, because if you're at 180 and above, you probably can't relate to humans.
Oh, probably not. You definitely need courses in science communication.
And yes, you do. And we're going to get to what happens with high IQ and people.
Oh, yeah.
Let's cover the whole range.
Just for listeners, where are you?
Last I was tested about 140.
Okay, yeah, cool, nice.
You like 190?
I've never been tested and given the result. So,
or you know how I got it? Because I trained to do these things professionally.
Of course you did. You did IQ test, and let's do a Myers-Briggs while we're at it.
Exactly.
How smart are you, and what sort of type of person you are?
Yeah, I know.
Now we'll throw you off the cliffs. There we go.
I know, but so my last test was about 141 or something.
Nice, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
So that's moderately gifted.
Tight.
It might not be apparent from the way I behave and what I do and how I think and speak.
No. I've always put a bumper sticker on your car.
I'm gonna put it on my CV.
You should.
First up, IQ score. What a fuckwit. There are people who do that for sure.
And they don't get jobs.
Yeah, and none of them are saying 85 either.
I don't know. Maybe like I'm dumb, but I'm ready.
Go easy on me. I'll work harder. So after going through this stuff, what was his name? Louis Terman.
Sure.
Fiddling with Binet's work, the original French guy. About 1905, it became the Binet-Simon scale, but it turned into the Stanford-Binet test, which is one of the famous ones that's been running for decades. And it was the basis of modern IQ testing.
Okay. All right.
So it started back then 120 odd years ago. In 1939, David Wexler, who was a psychologist as well, spent a lot of time working with the US.
As well as the others, or as well as what?
As well as...
He's not moonlighting as a psychologist, is
as
all.
a father? I don't know, dog walker?
Well, he just said a psychologist as well.
Oh, as well as the others. It's true.
It did sound like he could be, he's a clockmaker.
As well as an astronaut.
Yeah, sure.
And an anesthetologist and acrobat. Yo-yo champion.
Look, a lot of them are.
Yo-yo champion first. You should go into psychology. No offense to the psychologist. I studied it myself. It was a long time ago. I don't know whether to agree with it or not. 1939. So he worked with US Army World War I veterans in particular and developed a new IQ test. And he combined a bunch of other tests from different and subtests from other people who'd been using them since 1880 up to World War I.
Yeah.
And they tapped into all kinds of things. So these tests looked at verbal, non-verbal skills, because Wexler believed, and I'm quoting him here, the global capacity, intelligence encompasses the global capacity of a person to act purposefully, to think rationally, and to deal effectively with his environment. So girls don't have an IQ.
Sexism in action.
I know.
But I do like that. That definition. The interesting thing, a lot of the definitions of intelligence are fleshed out a lot around artificial intelligence people. Like a lot of the philosophers of AI will seek to provide. Okay, so what is intelligence? And one of them is how a system or a person can cope with a range of their environment, the things that their environment throws at them.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So I mean, when you hear that kind of definition or his attitude towards intelligence, you kind of go, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
That sounds reasonable. Of course, we could tweak the nuances and the edges.
But it's not that different. Like a smart person or a less smart person.
Yeah.
If you were to say, what's the one thing that they've got different? Oh, they can cope with a range of different intellectual sorts of scenarios.
I would think so. For me, one of my biggest indicators is a personal day-to-day thing, a sense of humour. I find it hard to believe someone with no sense of humour is very smart, or they're too smart. Nothing in the middle.
I agree.
No offense to you boring fucks out there, but if you don't laugh at stuff, you wouldn't be listening to us. That's to be fair.
What?
They wouldn't. Apparently we just
don't know. You don't know. I don't know.
Oh, it's true. You could be learning. Good luck. So he called his test the Wexler Bellevue Intelligence Scale because he was chief psychologist at the infamous Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital.
Tell me why it's infamous. Just a quick one.
It's like the go-to name for. You want a throwaway expression in American, he ends up in Bellevue. It's just like...
It's bad. It's like Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, I don't know if it was all terrible.
IQ tests?
No, I don't think it was all terrible. It was just like Bellevue was like the iconic...
Okay.
That's the psychiatric place.
Yeah, right.
It could be a whole other episode. Maybe it will be. God, see what I mean? Rabbit holes everywhere.
I know, I get it.
I'm on page...
I won't ask you questions.
No, you should. So anyway, he was the chief psych there. The name was later changed to the Wexler Adult Intelligence Scale, the WACE. That's the one I trained in. Like decades later, that's the one
Not the Scientology one.
You don't train in that. You have it or you don't, man.
Fair enough.
Jesus. How dare you misrepresent my beliefs? I can't go on. So it's been revised several times, but the aims of the test are basically the same. There are now 3 versions. So there's the Wexler Adult one. There's the Wexler Intelligence Scale for Children, the WISC.
It's got pictures.
So does the adult one.
Or a nice kiddie language.
Yeah. It's made more child friendly.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh. If Winnie the Pooh has a triangle and a square, how many squares can he get into the
Do you run the person over in the trolley or not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's a moral question, not an IQ question.
Oh, so they're not related.
Anyway, you pull the
we're going to get to that.
You pull the lever and you murder the one.
I murder the one with the baby, right?
No, like in the traditional trolley.
What if the one is the baby?
I'm just going with the traditional trolley problem here. Don't muck me up. I've got my answer.
Kill the one.
Of course, I'm doing Socrates' trolley problem or the Aristotelian trolley problem.
Aristocrates?
Yeah. If you've got a Greek boat going over 4 people here, what do you do if they're slaves?
You bang the general.
Yeah, exactly.
To show him who's boss.
With a bit of pederasty. It's a little boy general.
And then you made it weird. It was all making sense. See, I'm the woke one.
I think it's
I know, man.
Not problematic to recognise that there was a fair bit of that going on in the ancient Greeks. A little bit.
I wasn't there.
Okay.
I can't speak to that. No, I gather there was. But it was consensual. No, it wasn't. There's also the Wechsler preschool and primary school scale. So there's age-related.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
Obviously there's comprehension issues because you're just not full-brained.
Yeah, sure.
And your vocab is smaller. So the combination of subtests became, and still is, one of the most extensively used intelligence tests in the history of psychology. So it's used in communities and schools all around the US, Australia, I think England, like many countries, English-speaking and otherwise. And periodically they're re-standardized, recalibrated, to keep the norm at 100 and the standard deviation 15.
Yeah. What's moving here? We come to that later?
Things.
Okay. Things.
Stuff.
Things.
And misc, a little bit of other. Yeah, it's one of the good questions. What's moving here?
Well, if you need to recalibrate something, what's going on? Why are things changing?
That's my question too, because obviously these tests are perfect and they deal with innate skills that have nothing to do with anything.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's not a lot of maybe, really. I mean, I think you probably know that. So one of my favourite bits, actually, the use of IQ in US history for the police force. So some areas in the US have recently, like this century, used IQ tests. And what they've done is they put a limit. They put a maximum IQ score on people who could be admitted.
Wait, the maximum. You can't be too smart.
Yeah.
Mainly,
they said they were worried that.
Please tell me the maximum is like 180. They're like, okay,
of course it is.
Okay, we don't need the super brain genius. Like if you're solving all crimes, whether it's like giving out a traffic ticket by some sort of like the maths guy, you're going into the nature of the space-time cosmos to continuum anyway to work out some traffic crime. Okay, fair enough, but.
Yeah, no, they don't want Lex Luthor on their side first.
Still.
No, it was more because they said they were worried that people who scored too highly would end up getting bored by the labour, and they'd put all this training into them, but these people were just like bored by paperwork and parking citations.
Why don't they test for how quickly you get bored?
I know.
I just think that
the Will Grant boredom test.
There's other things that you can test for that might be actually on the problem. If you're worried about boredom, test for boredom.
No, I think you're onto something. I think you've just discovered your reason. The boredom test.
A boredom test.
First, go into this room, wait there.
Jesus Christ.
No, I've done it. That's the test.
Well, why does there need to be a test? I know when I'm bored.
You're bored now.
I'm always bored.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
You have an active mind. It's very high IQ. It's not your fault. That's why you can't be a US cop.
It's something. It's something.
It's definitely a thing. So what do IQ tests test? And it tends to be...
Obviously, it's your intelligence.
And your boredom.
And your quotient.
Yes. Do you have a quotient? Yes, just no intelligence. So things like processing speed, verbal comprehension, visual, spatial reasoning, fluid reasoning. So,
fluid reasoning?
How quickly can you drink and should you?
No, give me more. I need more than that on that.
How sort of flexible and quickly can you change and adapt?
Okay, you're given a new explanation, and so all
in
of that.
theory, or can you from this premise move it to a different context or something?
Yeah, okay.
In theory, and also working memory.
How much can you remember? Oh my God!
I know.
Anytime there's a bunch of kids games, like kids board games and stuff like that.
Kids always win if there's memory involved.
I know, and it's like playing and there's one where you have to go around the board and you have to remember what's under each thing. And I can only do it by trickery. I can use like mnemonics and stuff like that, and I make up a little. Okay, the butterfly and the squirrel and the stuff like that. And
butterfly nears my
butt. And they're all just like, I remembered it all. And I'm like, my brain does not do that anymore.
How?
It hurts. It hurts. I'm remembering so much stuff as it is.
Oh, I'm terrible at it. Like I used to play years ago with some friends of mine's kids who are now in their early 20s, was a game called Rainbow Fish. It was basically remember where the thing is, remember the pairs.
Yeah, cool.
You turn them over, turn them back. Whenever you can remember where a pair is, boom.
That's not Rainbow Fish. That's
what they called the game. It was just a memory game.
It's just called memory. Like, that's just memory.
I was shit at it. I was absolutely awful. I mean,
the one that always breaks my mind is the way that kids can reset. So you do a deck of 25. My first go, and I'll be competitive with them. I'll be like, okay, I remember those ones. I remember those ones. I remember those ones. We play, and they win or I win. It's competitive. The next go round, I'm like, but I've still got all the ones from last time. I can't flush that out.
So you need. It's not that you can't remember. It's you remember too well.
Exactly. I've chiseled them all into my permanent memory now.
Cuneiform
like
stone.
Seriously. Yeah. Yeah, memory hurts.
Let's try you out.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
You'll be fine.
No. I'm stressed now. I'm sweating. I'm all sweat.
This is for the
I've
people.
turned into a barrel of sweat.
You're the proxy for the audience, so they can play along at home.
Sweet.
So here's one.
Which one are we doing? What flavour of test?
I'll tell you after. Okay. See if you can tell.
Okay.
You probably know this one actually because this is quite famous. If the cost of a bat.
Bratislava.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is exactly right.
Turn
that into a number. If the cost of a bat and a baseball or ball combined is $1.10,
$1.10,
and the bat costs $1 more than the ball,
oh my God,
how much is the ball?
Is it 5 cents?
It is.
Oh my God,
you knew that, didn't you?
I did. But that sounds just that's a knee-jerk test. Do you just go 10 cents?
Almost everyone does say 10 cents unless they're asked. Okay, a lot of people don't know there's a step 2.
Mm.
What is the bat made of?
It's obviously aluminium.
Yeah. No, there's
aluminum.
That bit's bullshit. So the first bit is maths and critical thinking. The second one is bullshit.
Okay.
How about this one? Which of the following is not one of the 7 deadly sins?
Oh, okay.
I'm going to read 7 things.
We're going traditional 7 deadly sins, not the new ones. Not the new ones.
No, not your David Duchovny did it in a Porsche with a someone's daughter.
I was going to say, no, there's like a new hippie one where it's we're bad for the environment.
No. You
haven't plaited your pubes enough.
No, real ones. Like we're doing real ones.
Okay, good. The classics.
Which one isn't? Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride.
No, they're all. That's the 7.
Nice. So that's cultural knowledge. You got that right.
Oh yes,
you got that right.
I was like, no, I was nearly on wrath. I was like, no, that's got to be in there. Like wrath's a baddie.
Yeah, I know, and yeah, it's definitely that's a trick question. To be fair, it's not an IQ test. I just threw that in.
Oh, thank you. God,
this is a real one again. This is a classic. You probably already know because you would have heard it, but others may not. This is one of the. There are 3 classic questions, and I'm going to ask you 2 now.
Classic IQ test question.
Yeah,
okay.
that people use, particularly in popular culture, to kind of go, well, are you smart or not, or how quickly do you knee jerk? In a lake, there is a patch of lily pads. You know this one?
I'm guessing it.
Every day, the patch doubles in size.
Yes.
Yeah. So if it takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake, how long would it take for the patch to cover half of the lake?
47 days.
Yes, 47 days. Most people say 24.
Yeah.
Because they knee jerk to, well, if it's 48 days and double, so half.
See, this is pointing so much to, I think is going to come up later, how much these are, we've done these questions before. I all of those questions, the 7 deadly sins, maybe not so much, but the others I've done before.
So the first time I saw these questions, I did the classic. Either what I do is I don't fucking care, so I'm not going to pay attention because I'm too scared to fail.
Screw you, 1 cent. It's 1 cent and fuck you. I don't do it.
What if I'm wrong? It's because you're wrong. I blame the system.
I love your fear of failure here.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, I only fear failure if it matters.
Yeah,
which
I know.
It rarely does.
Which is how most people feel failure.
Yeah, I know, right?
The trick is to make it not matter. And to kind of drop out, but not really drop out.
Well, honestly, for both of those, I'm pretty sure my first thought was the traditional dumb response because I was impatient.
Or not dumb, not dumb.
Out.
Just you're answering it in not the right way.
How about this one? If dromedary camels have 1 hump, and Bactrian camels have 2 humps, how many strings are there on a concert harp?
I'm guessing like 64.
Ah, good enough. 47.
Okay. 47?
Yeah.
Is it really? Is it an odd number?
Yep.
Huh.
I know, right?
That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
I really thought, I thought my guess here was a function of 8. It's going to be 8 by 8 by 8.
Why? Because we have 8 fingers.
We have
Fair
8,
point.
8 notes. Like a...
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
There you go. 8 notes. Repeat. Like I thought it would be some version of that.
No.
47.
Nothing to do with camels either. Also not actually an IQ test.
I really don't need that piece of knowledge.
No, you
don't either, listener. You can get rid of that one.
No one needs it, except the camel stuff. One of my faves is this one. I'll read you a sequence of numbers. Which one's missing? 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, blank 64.
49.
Yeah, because they're all squares.
Mm.
Yep. So that is an actual real one, so logic and maths. You have a hacksaw, a 2-litre measuring jug.
I do. I have both of those things.
A rubber mallet.
I don't anymore. Mine broke.
4 meters of duct tape.
Yes.
How long would it take you to change the tire on a Prius?
I'm guessing still the same amount of. I'm assuming we're using the equipment that's in the Prius. I'm going to take it the same amount of time that it normally takes to change a car.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Probably about a 5-minute job.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it takes a lot longer.
Jacking the car?
No, there's no.
Jacking the car up.
It's a bullshit question. That's not a real one.
Oh. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
But, I mean, there is a point to this. Okay, here's a good one. You are the only doctor in an emergency room of a small hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Both nurses are outside having a break and aren't responding to their pages.
Jesus.
I know. So there's only 2 and they're not available. An ambulance brings in 2 people.
Is this going to be where the fox carries a chicken across the river? Is the doc?
It was the surgeon. The surgeon was the mother. It's not that one.
Okay, yeah. So you go back. Yeah,
yeah. So you got.
They're outside having a break.
They're out of contact. An ambulance brings in 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Both are having rapidly increasing difficulty breathing.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's not clear exactly what's causing this, but both seem to have the same symptoms. So everything about them seems the same. One is a 7-year-old child. The other is a man in his early 50s. Both are wearing athletic gear. You can only save one. Which one do you save?
Yeah, that's tough. Well, there's a moral question. There's an intellectual answer in the sense that the 50-year-old will give you more information about what happened. So if
and can pay.
Well, I wasn't so worried about the payment. You know, I'm in Australia here,
Yeah.
so, you know, we have a public health system.
Yes, we do.
But the 50-year-old can give you more information about what happened, so theoretically could help the 7-year-old a bit more, whereas the 7-year-old has more worth as a quality-adjusted life years person.
Oh, you qualies.
Yeah, look, to be honest, when in doubt, if all other things are equal, go for the slightly younger person.
Yeah, the man who's in his 50s is the right answer because he's my age. Duh.
Save the guy that looks like Rod.
Yeah, I know.
What's the right answer? I mean, this is...
No, that's a fake question too. The point is, though, you could set up exactly questions like this, and there are similar ones.
Okay, yeah, good.
Because
I was looking through triage the other day as a fascinating thing, and obviously you're saying to me things with the key point of triage divide into 3.
Yeah.
Those who will die no matter what you do,
Yep.
those who live no matter what you do, and those 2 in the middle,
And the other buggers.
are the ones who your intervention makes a difference. You put them both in that bucket.
I know. No, the bottom line is the point really is there's question bias there, or rather answer bias, which is save the guy who's more like me because I want to live.
Sorry, man.
Screw the 7-year-old.
Sorry, man.
Don't screw the 7-year-old. As in who cares?
Take yourself as having a slightly decent death. It's not like you're the tank man or anything like that.
Choking to death.
No, I mean by good death, as in like you did something good. You took one for the team, and a 7-year-old got to.
There's no 7-year-olds on my team, man.
But
They just
came
get in
into
the
the
way.
hospital. Yeah,
Verbal language skills one. Are you ready?
yeah. Fox.
Do a haiku now.
The fox was first to see the duck under the wattle bush.
Yes?
I think it was right.
I can't remember what Isn't it like, if to the moon,
575.
yeah. If to the moon, one put a handle.
I'm guessing that's close to a haiku. What I
Close
did.
enough. Also a fake test.
Actually, haikus are it's not religiously 575. Like the haiku masters will fuck with that.
Because they're the masters.
They'll do like 574,
Yeah.
576, whatever, man.
They don't care. They're the masters. Bow down.
Yeah, I know.
So that's a fake test, but language and verbal skills are real, and so it could be as arbitrary as that. This is a real one. This is the last one. I'll stop harassing you after this.
No, don't never stop harassing me. I'm
Memory.
I love tests. To be honest, I just got to confess, I loved anytime someone would say to me in uni, "Oh shit, that course has got an exam," and I'll be like,
Sweet.
"Yes, that's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best." I love exams.
I preferred them to everything else because it means I didn't have to do much until right near the end of the year and just cram it all in, spew it out, boom.
I hate to say I was terribly performative about this. I would also go into exams and I would, there's a period, I don't know if other unis do this, but at UQ in Queensland, there would be, say it's a 2-hour exam, 2.5 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a period you're not allowed to leave in the first 30 minutes or the last 30 minutes because it's disturbing or something like that.
Yeah, we have
and so no one's leaving then. But my goal is to smash it all out and be first to leave and just go, yep.
And watch
done.
people go, fuck. I did the reverse. I did it the other end where people would be in there, they'd be out the front and they'd be looking at their notes and they'd be cramming and looking nervous. I made it a point every exam I walked into, I just walked in, strolling, shaking my head and giggling. And they're like, how you feeling? I said, fine, man. Even if I was shitting myself, I'm like, everything's great. And I'd stroll into da-da-da-da-da. This is the best day ever. Jerks. Couple of jerks.
I know, right? I know. It sounds like we have some sort of privilege going on here. But anyway, I enjoy it.
It sounds like we had exceptional skills and
Exactly.
we used them.
This is the thing. I may have... Jesus. I may have done some...
This isn't live. You can edit it out.
No, I edit. What the fuck? Edit. What am I, a grandfather time? I don't have time to edit. No. There may have been some gifted and talented stuff in my primary school. I might have done some stuff. Yeah. And I love, there was a tweet the other day, and it's like, you weren't gifted and talented. You were just middle class and white. And I'm like,
no, that's not true.
You got me.
No, I was in one of those too in primary school. I went into the, what do they call it?
Are you white?
Yeah. So was everyone else.
No, okay.
And none of the, like...
Okay. I came from a school where
5% of the school was in that class and no others, and they were all white, middle-aged, middle class. Middle class, not middle-aged.
Fair enough. Okay, so you were in a school of white middle class people, and therefore you stood out, and that's great.
I was the best middle class.
I was in a school that we had we were quite multicultural in a great way.
Yeah.
Not a lot of those issues worked well in some ways, and others others they didn't.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But certainly my whiteness enabled different sorts of things.
Yeah, and I get that. It didn't matter here because there was no other.
Yeah, all right.
I had one Aboriginal mate in primary school. He's a fucking awesome guy called Andrew. Still miss him, but he was only there for a year and then he had to leave. I don't know why. That was it. There's the only Aboriginal bloke I ever met in primary school.
We had our school would have been one third Indigenous, 1/3 Italian migrants, and 1/3 other, of which most is English Irish of various sorts. But then most of the Irish went to the Catholic school.
Of course
So
your final test, memory. I'm going to read the numbers. You're going to say them back to me.
Oh, no. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it.
You don't have to.
I don't want to do it unless you let me look at it. This is bullshit.
We don't have to do it. We can just move on. Will doesn't want to do it. We're going to move on. For those of you playing at home, just try it. 1, 9, 18, 4, 8.
1, 9, 18, 4, 8. Person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Exactly. Easy. Now say them backwards.
8, 4, 18, 9, 1.
Nice. That's not easy. Now the square root of each one in order.
Whoa. in the reverse order or the first order?
You know what? You choose.
Okay, we'll go 1, 3. Square root of 18 is 4.0 something.
I don't know. Not bad.
I can't remember. 2, and
close.
I can't remember something.
2's right, yeah. Because it's square root of 4.
Yeah, and what was the other numbers?
8.
Well, square root of 8's hard. Like that's
To be fair, the first 2 questions are real. The square root one is bullshit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you had trouble with that, people at home, that's because you're a normal human being. And if you got it right, Jesus Christ, please don't kill me with your mind.
Square root of 8, though. Who bothers remembering the square root of 8?
No.
I mean, the cube root of 8 is a great number.
Yeah, 11-4. 2, yeah, exactly. So anyway, IQ tests have issues.
What? No, they're perfect.
I know.
Give me my score. What am I?
You're 170.
Good. Thank you. So long as I just need it to be one above you. That's all.
Oh no, you're like 30 above me. You're like mega gifted.
That's awesome.
Category. You're not quite an alien from another planet. You're just beneath.
That's where you want to be. You don't want to be unable to function.
You want to be able to relate to your humanities.
Obviously, I relate to my humanities.
So there are many issues with IQ tests, and here are some. So for starters, back in the day, the US Army did these things they called alpha beta tests. So they screened 1.75 million people who were drafted into World War I. Which is a shitload of people. And they wanted to find out the intellectual and emotional temperament of the soldiers. So the results were used to determine how capable a soldier was serving in the armed forces.
So how close you put them to the bullets, basically.
Yeah, which job you put them into.
Are you pulling the trigger or are you receiving the bullet?
Yeah, should you be? Yeah, exactly that.
It's
exactly
literally that. I've done the military IQ test, which
and your mark is Lieutenant General.
Obviously, straight to command. No, it was more. Which corps are you going to be? Yeah. What sort of gun are you going to get? Are you going to get a big gun or are you going to get a little gun?
You're going to get a remote gun or a look them in the eye gun?
A remote gun where you can calculate the physics.
Yep. So these results from all these people, 1.75 million, were analysed by a guy called Kyle Brigham, who was at Princeton. psychologist, founder of early psychometrics, so measurement of psychological phenomena in people. And he put it in a book in 1922 called A Study of American Intelligence. He used meticulous stats to demonstrate that American intelligence was declining.
Really?
So he took all these numbers from this particular data set and went, oh shit, we're getting dumber.
I really thought you were going to say it was getting better. Because,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it goes up and down. I mean, we'll get to that. So why? He had to speculate why. He said it was probably increased immigration and racial integration.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's those people that are diluting our awesome gene pool.
As we flagged earlier,
seriously.
Imagine it gets to racism.
And eugenics. Like, Jesus, like straight away.
So to address the issue, he called for social policies to restrict immigration and prohibit racial mixing.
Because obviously getting better IQ tests is the number one thing that we should be doing.
Well, because it's perfect and it measures intelligence.
Okay.
Racism and bigotry, all that sort of thing grew very quickly. So with the widespread use of IQ tests in the 20th century, there was the argument that a level of a person's intelligence was influenced by their biology.
Okay.
So it was inherent to the quality of the human.
Yeah, look, I'll accept a bit of that, but I think where he's going with this might be not something that we're comfortable.
Look, it's a bit deep. So eugenicists, as you mentioned, and also what they call ethnocentric, so people who favoured one race over another, they would view intelligence and other social behaviours as being determined by biology and race, and so they loved IQ testing.
Of course they did.
Because they could use it.
Of course they did. It's their favourite measure.
Yeah, because it's perfect. Or anthropometry, measuring skull sizes and shit.
What did the Nazis do?
Whatever they wanted.
No, but in this sort of era, are you
I'm not aware of the Nazis and IQ testing. I don't think they bothered, but surely someone would have.
But that actually, here's why they might not. That might have diluted the. Oh, they had the idea of the master race Jew, but maybe they're thinking that might dilute our idea. So why bother looking? We know where to.
Or they start looking and start to find it doesn't work, so you just ditch that and decry the test, which is possible. So basically they would say, these eugenicists and ethnocentrists, that the gaps in the test illuminated the differences like between ethnic minorities and whites, or poor and rich people, basically.
Poor and rich people, I think, being far more revealing there.
Yeah, it was big. And so Terman, the Stanford guy who played with Binet's junk, so to speak,
I know what you're saying.
Test, he drew a bunch of connections between intellectual ability and race. So in 1916, he wrote, this is a good quote, you'll like it. High-grade or borderline deficiency is very, very common among Spanish, Indian and Mexican families of the Southwest and also among Negroes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
He was a psychologist at Stanford, so he's an educated man. Their dullness seems to be racial, or at least inherent in the family stocks from which they come.
Sounds pretty racist.
I'm not saying it. Children of this group should be segregated into separate classes, so he cares about them.
Yeah, he does. And will they get more teaching or less teaching?
Well, it's hard to say, but he does say they cannot master abstractions, but they can often be made into efficient workers.
Jesus
so
Christ.
Helpful, giving them something to do. From a eugenic point of view, this is before it was a dirty word, they constitute a grave problem because of their unusually prolific breeding.
They hate the maths problems, but they love the fucking.
Yeah, and becoming good workers.
Seriously, these people.
Yeah, so that...
I mean, I know that's what the world was then, but Jesus.
Not all of it.
But I guess, I mean, the point of this is the way that they go, okay, let's put this veneer of science on this.
Yes.
When it's all bullshit. It's just racism from the bottom up.
And that's let's retrofit. Oh, look, science.
Yeah. Look, we did a count. But
it's never so simple because IQ tests are used for, good as well as evil. So people
and
argue
have
against
some
it.
plausibility. You could literally put two people down, give them an IQ test, and that will tell you something.
You clearly have 179, like I said, from the test I gave you.
Exactly.
And
That's
nailed
good.
it.
That's good.
So there's been a lot of work from hard and social scientists refuting all these arguments for decades now, obviously. All, Brigham, the army guy, and Terman, the guy who basically said Mexicans are, racists and drug addicts. Oh, no, that was Trump.
Yeah.
Rapists, sorry. So the idea that racial differences in IQ scores are influenced biology, not so good. And it was critiqued by many. And those arguments included things like a lack of evidence and weak statistics. You're like, aside from all evidence and the evidence you do have being
it's weak.
poorly analysed, you're wrong. And so basically, the spoiler alert, the most recent study I found in my brief synopsis was maybe 50% of IQ is explained by inheritance. Maybe 50%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I'm sure anyone who's got a vague psychobiology background listening to this will say, fuck you, there's a study that says it's 12% and someone else will say 90%.
Yeah, sure.
But 50 seems to be a reasonable in between. So
and by inheritance, what are we talking about here? Like your mother and your father?
Yeah,
let's go with
part of you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's your meat.
Yeah.
As opposed to your everything else. So the supporters of eugenics, etc., in the 1900s, they'd use the test to identify, quote, idiots, imbeciles, and the feeble-minded. And these are the people who are diluting everything, etc. As a result of such arguments, many American citizens were sterilized. How good's that? No pressure. Take this IQ test. I really want to keep my balls.
Seriously. The count up these triangles.
Yeah. 7. No. 9. Fuck. Okay, 1 ball. In 1927, an infamous ruling by the US Supreme Court legalized forced sterilization of citizens with developmental disabilities and the feeble-minded who were frequently identified by their low IQ scores.
Jesus.
So depending on what you read, one ruling, which is called Buck versus Bell, resulted in over 65,000 coerced sterilizations of individuals who appeared to have low IQs. So pretty fucked up. And most of those people, not all, but most, were either poor or people of colour, as you'd expect. So, yeah, it's all a bit shit. And so IQs became for a while a very powerful way to control and exclude people, etc., using empirical and scientific language. Here's a nice little snippet before we move on. Compulsory sterilisation in the US on the basis of IQ, criminality or sexual deviance continued formally until the mid-1970s.
Jesus.
Until the Southern Poverty Law Center began filing lawsuits for people who'd been sterilised. In 2015, the US Senate voted to compensate living victims of government-sponsored sterilisation programs.
Yeah.
So that's pretty shit.
The whole thing, compulsory sterilizations, it's just so barbaric.
I do not even understand. You're not allowed to breed because... I mean, look, we've all made the little jokes about people with terrible children and said, why the fuck are they allowed to breed?
Oh,
that said...
And look, the principles of child justice or anything like that is the rights of the child come first. So you can understand how the logic gets to a place like that.
Yeah, it's dreadful. So let's get into culture and ethnicity then. So are these tests culture free? Because in principle they should be, but they're not.
Haikus, man. Obviously you have to be Japanese to be able to do well at the haiku one.
You did well.
Or you hang on, you made up that question. That wasn't.
Yeah, I did.
That wasn't legit.
But you did well. That doesn't mean you didn't do well. My IQ test is as good as anyone else's. So there are people who say, and they've argued, quite convincingly, that intelligence is specific to particular cultures, as in the notion of what you consider to be intelligent.
Okay. Well, what? So people in different cultures consider different sorts of things intelligent?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously these are biased predominantly the tests we have to white European-type societies. So if you go further, you're basically saying IQ tests, there's a history of it being used to further questionable and racially motivated beliefs, but a big part of that is because they've been designed to work in certain cultural contexts. So there's a researcher at UCLA, Patricia Greenfield. She argues non-verbal intelligence tests are based on cultural constructs. And this is unusual because the non-verbal ones, like images and stuff, are the ones that people often use to try and be more unbiased, as it were.
But they're based on cultural ideas. So
even those.
So what are we getting in the non-verbals? Are they like geometry and stuff like that?
Yeah. And there's a thing there's a test called the Raven's progressive matrices, which is all these weird sequences of visuals and stuff, which I find abominably difficult because I don't have a visual brain.
Why would you?
I'm stupid. But so she was saying, so for example, in societies where formal schooling is common, students get an early familiarity with organising things in columns and rows.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're offering people who don't do that tests that require that, you're already disadvantaged.
I got to say, the idea of recognizing stuff you don't know though is really difficult in the sense that I remember I was over in a city in India. It's a weird city. It was a very planned city, not like Canberra, but a similar sort of era. Yeah. And it was built on these grids. Like you could look at it from a map, and it's in a grid shape, which is not very India at all. Yeah. And I was talking to someone. Can you take us over to Sector 22 or something? And it was called Sector 22, which is so cool.
Oh, it's so romantic.
But he had no concept of the map, and he lived in this city. And
the map just didn't work.
And the map just did not work.
Yeah.
And for me, it took quite a long time. I love maps, but we've come up in a culture that has taught so to go, oh, they're a bit of cultural knowledge.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to unpack the things that are cultural
That's the thing.
knowledge.
So, and that's why I think this is interesting, the idea that the visual stuff isn't as smooth as you thought.
Yeah,
totally. It's not as convertible across cultures.
No, absolutely.
And I mean, she points out, I think it's important to point out that nonverbal tests or visual tests are the most culture-bound of all, she claims.
Oh, really?
They're not culture-free. They're not culture-fair. In fact, they're far less fair than verbal tests. Now, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but I won't because rabbit holes. So it's not just another researcher, UC Berkeley, Kai Ping Peng. Culture is not just race, nationality, or particular social categories. It's experience. And so they go on to say, Kai Ping, I don't know if it's a man or a woman. I apologize. I don't believe that simply because you're born Asian means you will think like Asians. And it's like, well, yes. And so there are African differences as well in notions of intelligence. For example, people who have a deep and abiding knowledge of local healing herbs are considered quite intelligent.
Sure. But that wouldn't be measured in any of these intelligence tests. Yeah.
Not one. And I mean, it's memory, But also, I mean, there's a group of people called the Luo in Kenya. And they discovered they have basically 4 broad versions of intelligence. So one is Rieko, which largely corresponds to Western ideas of academic intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Luoro, which includes social qualities like respect, responsibility, and consideration.
Yeah, okay.
This is considered part of intelligence, or what we'd call intelligence. Yeah. There's Paro, which is practical thinking, and there's Winjo, I don't know, basically comprehension. So it goes a lot further. What they constitute as intelligence includes social understanding and interactions and so forth.
Are you going to say that's a better version?
No, it's a version.
All right.
This is a lot of the takeaways, but they're even quirks within our own cultures. So you had the first 2 of the classic questions, the lily pad and the baseball bat.
Yep.
So
are you going to give me some versions from the Loire?
Well, no. God, I wish I had those. That would be fabulous. Another rabbit hole. So there's a third question. So some people at the Yale School of Management put the 3 questions, including the one I'll give you. You don't have to answer. It's up to you. To nearly 3,500 students at different colleges and unis, including Harvard and Princeton.
Cool.
So the third question.
There's some smart kids. Yep.
Yeah, smart kids. So here's the third question. So remember, it's the lily pad question, the baseball bat question, or baseball and ball. You probably know this too. If it takes 5 machines 5 minutes to make 5 widgets.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
5 to make 5. How long would it take 100 machines to make 100 widgets?
Oh, obviously it's not 100.
Yeah, because you want to say 100.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes.
Yep. So most people say 100 if they say it quickly because it feels right. But it's actually 5 minutes. The results.
Or they say 1. I think 1 was the next guest, yes.
Yeah, it probably would be actually. That would make intuitive sense, as it were. So only 17% of these nearly 3,500 students got all 3 right.
Okay.
And a third didn't get any right.
What year are they doing this test?
Second year.
No, okay.
Recently. In modern history.
Yeah, okay. So some smart kids still, they don't get it.
Yeah, not from 1912. I mean, we're talking right now.
Some smart white kids, so.
Except for the special entry people. So basically, when you take it further, look at how pragmatic it is. So a money psychology expert wrote a nice piece called Why the Smartest People Make Bad Decisions compared to people with low IQ.
Do they really?
Oh, yeah. It's great. So there's a journo writing for CNBC called Morgan Hauser, and he said, look, a couple of things. One of the most persistent fallacies is the reflexive association between intelligence and good decision-making. So
Isn't
if you're
that the
smart,
point,
you
though?
make wide...
Isn't that the point?
Apparently not, depending on how you measure it.
But I thought the whole point of intelligence was that you would make better decisions.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Huh.
Apparently not. So he quotes a professor of human development at Toronto, a psychologist called Stanovich. His findings suggest IQs are great for measuring mental capabilities such as logic, abstract reasoning, and memory, but they're not as reliable. So they're shit when it comes to people making smart decisions in real life situations.
It's book smarts and street smarts.
Exactly.
Like that's the classic debate. Like seriously, that I think Freud, he broke his brain on the book smarts versus street smarts.
Well, he was pretty street smart though. He was a gun packing maniac. He used to go street fighting.
Sure. But many academics have broken their brain on the book smarts versus street smarts debate.
But even if you go beyond that, so a couple of things this guy talks about, the money psychology guy. Intelligence increases people's ability to fool themselves with elaborate stories about why something happened. So, you get something wrong and you're like, oh, there's all these reasons, right? I've got these reasons.
Yeah, but there's some awesome flip side to that study. That fooling yourself as to why something is wrong actually makes you happier.
Oh, it doesn't make you smarter, but it makes you happy. I'd rather be happy than smart.
Like, exactly. Fooling yourself, yeah, there was a reason for that.
So I feel okay.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah. But I mean, we're not talking about happiness, we're talking about intelligence.
I know.
But it's true. So he talks about, how people have these long internal dialogues about how smart they are and the reasons why if something went wrong, it wasn't their fault or whatever.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. And you can always talk about how you made a mistake that wasn't your fault, whereas other people are just dumb.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, classic stuff. The other one is intelligence pushes you towards the idea that complex problems require complex solutions. And I see this, and so do you, every goddamn day in our field.
No, I get it.
Like, well, this issue is deep and complex, and it's very difficult, and people have worked on it for thousands of years. So the only way we could solve it is with something as complicated and tricky.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, when in fact, quite often, it's probably pretty straightforward.
Or there's a muddle through solution that'll get you 85%.
Yeah, and that's all people need.
And that's all you need.
Yep. So
yeah, I like that.
They see a lot of that. So overall, people who do well in IQ tests tend to be more successful in the classroom and the workplace. They tend to live longer.
Did you say and the workplace?
And the workplace.
Yeah, okay.
They tend to live longer, have healthier lives, and are less likely to experience negative life experiences like bankruptcy, and weirdly less likely to die in traffic accidents.
Okay.
But.
Don't tell me but. You just gave me 179 IQ. I want to know there's no but. I just want all upside.
No but. So, writing in the journal Intelligence, Ruth Karpinski and some of her colleagues emailed a bunch of people who are members of Mensa. Mensa is the infamous high IQ society. So you need to be, I think, in the top 2% of the world.
What was that,
so,
above 140?
Yeah, something outrageous. I've thrown my notes away, but yes, it's high. Something like 132 or above. Shit, we should both be in Mensa because that's
worst.
Awesome.
That would be the worst.
Fucking dumb. Like when I studied IQ tests,
a group of people like that.
No,
but it's also you're selecting not just from people above 132. You're selecting from people that care,
that give a shit, yeah,
that care that they're above 132 and think that makes them special
and
would like to hang around with all of those people. Oh my God, can you imagine anything worse?
And the other thing they never tell you, you can practice an IQ test. You can buy one yourself and you can practice it.
100% guaranteed. There are people in Mensa who have practiced
100%,
until they could nail that IQ test,
yep,
so that they can get in the door of Mensa and go, I can't imagine anything worse than
that's
a place
fucking
like
gross.
Mensa.
It is
just
gross.
So gross.
Yeah, the idea like self-congratulatory. It's kind of like
let's look down on people.
Scientific version of
Let's look down on people.
Oh, fuck them. Anyway, that aside, love you, all of you Mensa listeners.
If you're in Mensa, still think about quitting. It's
or tell us why you're not part of what our stereotype would be.
Yeah, maybe it's very different.
Actually, that'd be interesting to talk to people who aren't. Anyway, so they got nearly 4,000 respondents. They mailed out some 4,000. They got a 75% return rate on these questions about people's psychological and physical disorders.
Okay.
Mensa members with psychological and physical disorders. So they covered mood disorders like depression, bipolar, etc., anxiety disorders, general anxiety, social and obsessive compulsive disorders, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, and autism.
These are all clinically diagnosed or self-diagnosed?
They asked both. They asked whether you've been diagnosed or whether you suspected you suffered from it.
Wow, okay, cool. So you included the self-diagnosis category.
Yeah, which is always smart.
Yeah, but obviously these people are smart enough to self-diagnose. I don't know.
Christ, look. Yeah.
Look, I just like any psych survey that includes clinically diagnosed and self-diagnosed, because there's a lot of people that believe they've been that are self-diagnosed, which is,
to be fair, I often think it's the people who would score more highly on IQ tests who are more likely to self-diagnose anyway.
Sure. But who wouldn't self-diagnose with stuff that's like, why do I need to go and see someone to actually tell me that when I can pretty much...
They're not smarter than me. They only have a master's. I have a PhD.
Or does it really matter?
No.
There you go. So,
But that's because I'm in the top,
to suggest
7%.
That my boredom, my rapid boredom might be a tendency towards ADHD, it's I don't need a diagnosis.
You already know you got it. Yeah, I know. It's not your
saying
fault.
I got it. I'm just saying that...
No, you're not. You're not saying that.
Tendencies and directions help us to understand things.
Also, such diagnoses, they're not you either are or you aren't.
There you go.
It's like they're continua.
Shut up.
Continua.
Shut up.
So these people were asked, 3,715 respondents. Also, you can imagine sending a test to Mensa people like, I'll fucking take the test.
Of course they love it.
I'll give you a survey.
Highest correspondence rate ever.
Yeah. I'll fill it in. I'll fill in the survey the best. So they found they were more likely to suffer from a range of serious disorders, at least self-diagnosed, if not actual.
Wow.
More than a quarter, nearly 27% of the sample reported they had been formally diagnosed with a mood disorder.
Okay.
Formally.
Are you going to give me the number to compare with the general population?
In some cases, yes.
Okay.
20% reported an anxiety disorder, and for the anxiety disorders, the national average, at least for these were US again, it's 10%.
So they are more
double
anxious.
the national average. They also covered environmental allergies, asthma, and autoimmune disorders. It was triple the national average, 33% to 11%.
Asthma. Yeah, of course.
I have one of those because I'm so fucking smart. That's why I have an inhaler. Because Jesus, I'm clever.
No, but that's what everyone thought. You know, when you're a kid at school, the kids with the inhalers, they're the smart ones.
What I freaked them out with is I could also play footy.
Glasses and inhaler, smart.
And big and nasty and mean. So how do they explain their findings? So they proposed the hyperbrain, hyperbody theory.
What?
I know, right?
What?
Yeah.
Please don't be that person that proposes that.
It wasn't me. It was Karpinski and her colleagues.
I know, but still, hyperbrain, okay.
Look, it's not clear to me whether it was supposed to be a positive or not. But basically, they were arguing if you're highly intelligent, it's associated with psychological and physiological, quote, over-excitabilities, OEs. And this is based on some Polish zeitgeist theory from the 1960s. Not to dismiss the Polish, they're very good psychologists.
You've given everyone else a name. This just guy's some guy.
Yeah. So overexcitabilities, they're unusually intense reactions to environmental threat or insult, and it can include anything from a startling sound to confrontation with another person.
Still, I'm still just want to say that Mensa may not be representative of all people of that IQ bracket.
How dare you? Only the people who aren't too lazy. It can include these psychological overexcitabilities, heightened tendency to ruminate and worry. And physiological ones are body's response to stress. So according to the hyperbrain, hyperbody theory, these two types of OEs, overexcitabilities, are more common in highly intelligent people and interact with each other in a vicious cycle to cause both physiological and psychological dysfunction. So they quote, for example, a highly intelligent person may overanalyze a disapproving comment made by a boss, imagining negative outcomes that simply wouldn't occur to someone less intelligent.
I don't doubt that someone who is highly intelligent might do that. I think that there are other things that you would, diagnose someone.
I think what they're really doing, I'll be honest, is selling the fact that, you're a bit neurotic, it's just because you're smart.
Exactly.
Don't feel bad, you're clever.
The smartness is not the reason there.
I think it probably isn't.
Although don't doubt that potentially people that have that excess capacity to think may use it.
Well, look at us. Combined IQ of nearly 400.
Oh, yeah.
And we have no overexcitabilities.
None.
Also, the problem with IQ tests is, your results can change over time. So
what?
So you can train for it, but also the results across countries change over time. So there's a thing called the Flynn effect.
It's just that you get dumber as you get older?
Or smarter.
Smarter? Well,
on average IQs across countries. So James Flynn described what they became known as the Flynn effect. It was an observation that each generation has a significantly higher IQ than the last, statistically significant, so it might be a couple of percent. Yeah.
Okay, but that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like when we're normalizing here to say that we're getting smarter.
Yeah.
And I get that we were smarter than the chimpanzees that we didn't come from.
And the cave persons.
Or whatnot. I get that. That's fine. But to say that one generation you can see a jump of smartness.
Yeah. Well, this is what James Flynn suggested. And he argues, however, that the increase in scores does not necessarily mean younger generations are more intelligent, because it could be they're getting better at the tests, nutrition and education has changed, etc. Part of it is also probably recalibration of tests.
Yeah, okay.
Or failing to.
Making them easier.
Yeah.
It's like size creep. Suddenly a size 12 is no longer a size 12 anymore.
I agree. That's why I'm a medium now.
Exactly.
Instead of a triple extra large.
Look at you, medium.
There's nothing left of me. Not because of them, because of me.
I'm a modern medium.
Yeah, so also there's been, depending on who you speak to, a dip in IQ scores.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So, and this has got an Australian flavour. So,
just Australians are getting dumber?
Yeah, well, it's obvious. Look at our Prime Minister.
Well, no. He doesn't do all of our IQ tests for us.
He does all our intelligence.
No,
I feel dumb. Whenever he speaks, I feel dumber.
Sure. But
you listen to Scott Morrison speak, you'll drop to a 163.
No way. I'll concentrate on my IQ test. I will say we're better than this.
So we've dropped not only Australia. So researchers are now saying, well, this has been seen worldwide.
A drop in IQ?
A drop.
Over what period?
A couple of years. So between X and Y. 10 years-ish. Maybe 15.
These freaking rabbit holes, man. They're all over this one.
So freaking many. It was very difficult to kind of find any line through this.
Oh, I get it.
So there's a clinical psychologist guy at the University of New South Wales, Tony Florio, quoting him, my particular theory is that scores really haven't gone backwards, but the IQ test hasn't kept up with the way we're using our brains.
Oh.
So we're back to challenging the notion of what the test tests and how.
Okay. We're using our brains for more Pokemon capturing and stuff like that.
Kinda.
And that's not registered in here.
Kinda, yeah. He's saying, look, the research shows a decline in scores specifically throughout Europe and where most relevant research has been conducted. And they're calling it the reverse.
I really thought you were going to say we're all getting smarter. And
depends who you measure, how, and where. Yeah. He's calling it the reverse Flynn effect because it's the Flynn effect, only the reverse.
Yeah, I know. I understood that point.
See, 179. Yeah. 179. And he's saying, look, you'd think logically we would have at least maybe just plateaued, intelligence maybe plateaued. We've done all we could. But he said, look, there are a number of theories that may explain it. And one of them is they call it the Google effect.
Oh, okay.
Basically, we outsource a lot of our things like memory and cognitive tasks to machines. We don't really maintain stuff.
If you hear the question about the lily pad, you
look it up.
I'll fucking Google it.
Yeah.
Like how long does it take the lily pad to cover a pond? You just Google it.
47, idiot, not 24.
Fucking Google. There, got it.
Yeah, and look, the truthiness of that is like I kind of
bat
get
and
it.
a ball.
Yeah.
$1.50. Yeah. There you go. Whatever.
$1.98.
That's what
$6. But the only thing I'll say about that is I remember the argument when I was a junior.
Download some porn.
Exactly. That doesn't improve your intelligence, just your mood.
No, it does. I'm sure it does.
I wouldn't know. I've never seen. What is it? Porn?
Pornography.
The pornographies. But I've also heard this theory when I was in high school, like in the 80s, like if you get a calculator,
your kids are getting dumber.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah. I get it. Our pedophile teacher.
You had to get taught how to be a pedophile?
No. As in like okay. But he had a strong line in, you can just add these up in your brain. You got a bunch of numbers, 12, 28, 23,
114 million, 16.4.
And 12. Yeah. Put them in your brain, you add them up. And you don't need a calculator for that. And it's like,
you having trouble with that? Come to my house after school.
Yeah, indeed. But anyway.
But
different topic.
Yeah, so it's another rabbit hole. I mean, pedophilia was not one of the rabbit holes I went down.
Well, all I'm saying, his argument was that you could use a calculator, and it's wasting our brains not to.
Yeah, and so I think this is an extreme version of that in a sense.
Yeah, sure.
But this guy Florio also argues another explanation could be we just can't keep improving forever. Like. The idea, but again, that argues for plateauing.
Fuck off! Just can't keep improving forever.
It still argues for plateauing, though.
No. Why should anything plateau?
I don't know.
It's bullshit.
Biology's about
rockets don't plateau.
No. Biology's about optimum, not maximum, man.
We're in the universe. We haven't achieved optimum yet. It's
some
freaking sci-fi. Be excited about the future.
When have I don't believe in sci-fi. I only read it exclusively.
Yeah, there you go. Be excited about the future.
I am.
There you go.
I just wish we were in it. So, IQ, right? There's a bunch of very clever folk who've spoken about it. So, Stephen Jay Gould,
yes,
who's now dead, paleontologist, good popularizer of science, etc.
Famous for obviously dinosaur bones and IQ tests.
Yeah, no, he wrote a book called The Mismeasure of Man in 1981, and we were made to read it as part of our course when I was studying IQ test and intelligence back in the late 90s.
I
was impressed that the lecturer said, no, you guys must read this whole book and think about it this way, and I thought, good for you, champ, because it was actually very useful. And he basically said general intelligence is simply a mathematical artifact. Its use was particularly unscientific and culturally and socially discriminatory. And I think he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Howard Gardner, another guy, so he's a Harvard Graduate School of Education fellow who's been talking about intelligences for decades now. He was famous 20 years ago and still is. So he's saying basically we have multiple intelligences. So he says there's mathematical, verbal cooking, Netflix downloading, juggling.
No doubt.
Juggling's good. Balance, not falling off your monoboard and breaking your wrist.
Whatever.
That means you're smart if you do. Visual, spatial, physiological, naturalistic, self-reflective, social, and musical aptitudes, he says, all could be considered versions of intelligence. And he says basically the tasks featured in the IQ test are decidedly microscopic, are often unrelated to one another, and are remote in many cases from everyday life.
Oh my God, tests are different from everyday life?
What the fuck is going on, this egghead? They rely heavily upon language and upon a person's skill in defining words. Yes, upon, I know you love that word. In knowing facts about the world, in finding connections and differences among verbal concepts. And it doesn't really measure about a human being's potential for further growth. So he's not quite keen. Sternberg, who is Robert Sternberg, psych luminary. So he was at Cornell, Yale, Tufts, former head of the American Psychological Association. Like he's
a big guy.
Credentialed. He says IQ problems tend to be clearly defined, come with all the information needed to solve them, and only have a single right answer, which can be reached by only a single method. So they're disembodied from ordinary experience because the real world doesn't work that way.
Street smarts versus book smarts.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Like seriously.
Yeah.
This is them coming around that street smarts matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't test them. You can.
We can, but not standardly. So he's saying practical problems need a lot more. Another guy, David Perkins, who's at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, who looks at thinking and reasoning skills. He says, look, high IQ is like height in a basketball player.
Helps.
Yeah. It's very important. It's very important.
But that guy that can dribble?
Yeah. It's very important, but all other things being equal, it's very important if all other things are being equal, but they're not. So there's a lot more to being a good basketball player than being tall.
Yeah.
Just like there's a lot more to being a good thinker than having a high IQ. And Alfred Binet, his quote from 1909, so original boy, as it were. Some assert that an individual's intelligence is a fixed quantity which cannot be increased. We must protest and react against this brutal pessimism. So even he, having done the test, kind of went, let's just
calm down.
Let's be a little skeptical. So bottom line is IQ, if it's high, it may have no bearing on success. It doesn't test motivation, opportunity, interest, ability to make good life decisions at all.
Street fighting ability,
juggling, as we discussed. Sexual prowess, not included.
Are you
I've
serious?
taken the test a lot.
Are you serious? No, I thought that would have been a linear correlation.
Can you bring an other off really fast and well?
Like
yes
straight
no?
away. Like 180, it's just bang.
You're 179, man. Stop boasting.
Well, no, I'm saying if
you were
180, you straight to 180.
I looked at him, her, they, and they went boom.
And off they went. That's all they need.
Yeah.
Surely. Well, what the hell is the point of IQ other than that?
Other than getting people happy. So none of those are in there. They can vary over time and place, and the results can vary over time and place because you have to recalibrate different periods in history. They're going up, they're going down. You can train for the test. If it's an inherent quality, then the idea that you can learn the test kind of undermines it. My favorite bugbear, or one of them, is they're reliable but not necessarily valid. So you can track similar things repeatedly, but are they actually measuring what you think they're measuring? They're very open to misinterpretation and abuse. They're so multidimensional they may mean nothing, or intelligence should be so multidimensional. Yep. And bottom line is the context of them is king, which country, which attitude, which training, which time, blah, 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 blah. So one person suggests the best way to think of IQ is you think of your mind as a searchlight. IQ measures the brightness of the searchlight, but not where it points or how you point it.
Oh, my God.
Whoa, right?
Whoa.
But my summary, having avoided all these rabbit holes, not easily, is IQ is probably best defined as something that IQ tests measure, and that's pretty much it. That's my profound summary, because in the end, do you get executed or not? Do you get a job or not? Are you privileged or not? Should you be in Mensa? Blah, 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 blah. It's so goddamn messy. It's just so goddamn messy.
Did you know the only IQ test that I did, as I said before, it was a
military one?
It was a military one. It wasn't even as complicated as that. It was literally a page of 2 columns of numbers. So like each one was
an accountancy test.
No. Well, it was sort of like 6-digit phone numbers, some shorter, some longer.
Yeah.
Can you recognize they're the same? Can you recognize they're the same? Can you recognize they're the same?
Pattern matching.
Yeah, it's literally pattern matching. And this is the only one and it's like...
Does it make you an artillery officer?
I think so.
Or map reader.
I don't know. You just spot the number difference. And it's like they're using all of these in such a narrow way.
I love the police one saying we don't want anyone too high because they'll get bored. I think that's a cracker.
Jesus Christ.
So IQ's tops.
Love it.
And that was 1%.
Obviously, listener,
1% of what we can talk about.
You have an IQ of 204.
And you know how we tested it? You're listening.
Yeah, exactly. You got here by the grace of science, you get an IQ of 204.
Well, not only you got here and you stayed.
Yeah, exactly. How weird of you. Anyway, 204. that's what you are. Put it on your CV and see how that goes for you.
Yeah, give it a crack. Quote us.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, him, Rod Lamberts. Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science
is to blame.